Hello and welcome to Let's Talk Rugby Family Support. Thank you for watching. I'm Paul, the guy behind Driving Maul, and yes, this is take two because I didn't feel that I got my point across properly the first time, so here's another go. Rugby is, or the rugby family does support people in a good way, and we look at Nigel Owens coming out, being perhaps the most famous homosexual kind of sportsman, or at least referee in sports, and the support he's got from the rugby community for that. We've seen lots recently players wearing boots with either rainbow laces or different coloured laces to show that rugby is accepting of all people and everyone is welcome at rugby and to take part in rugby. And also, on the whole, the crowds are much more respectful than some other sports, being quiet for the kicker and sometimes even clapping opposition if they played very well or scored a very good try. This kind of stuff is all there, but it's not perfect by any stretch of the imagination. Nigel has had abuse at Twickenham, for example, even if that was dealt with very swiftly by the authorities against those people, and they did apologise. We do have booing of players, and from normally it's away players, people like Quade Cooper in New Zealand, for example. And whilst it's not every game, it definitely does. It happens enough that you recognise it, and also the social media critics as well. I mean, Sam Warburton's father, for example, I think has had some bad abuse on social media and there as well. And I think one of the points that Danny Solomon gave in an interview that I listened to today was that if you're not hated by someone, then you're not doing your job properly. And I kind of get where he's coming from. If the opposition aren't scared of you, or opposition fans aren't scared of what you're going to do, then to a certain extent you're not at the top, you're not worrying them. But I don't think that has to go as far as hating and abuse on social media or other places. Now I think clubs and players and clubs are aware that this kind of criticism is going to come, and it's part of parcel of being a top level sportsman, and they are putting in place things like having sports psychologists, etc., to help players. But it doesn't just affect the players also. It also affects their family as well, their wives and children. And again, you can see at places like Saracens next to Chiefs, who make a big point about being sort of family clubs, that the partners are brought in and encouraged to network, and how they have sort of family barbecues, and putting together a support network for the wives and partners of the players as well. You hope that would extend to actually having some resources and some counselling or advice on how to deal with negative things that they will read both on social media and in the press about their partners. Obviously, someone who you love and are close to, seeing them criticised is not easy. And the reason I'm talking about this is an article that I saw by that was on the Irish Independent, an interview with Ian Keatley, and the title of it is kind of what really triggered me. Here's what he said. The worst thing was talking to Mum on the phone. She broke down crying. And what he was talking about here was that back in December 2015, he got booed off the pitch by his own fans at Munster. And there is a club that has a very passionate supporter base, and it's always supposed to be a hard place to go and play because the supporters are sort of the 16th man. Normally they get behind their crowd. They don't normally go after their own players. They're not that, and that's not generally a rugby crowd kind of thing. But the point here is that these comments, this booing, doesn't just affect the players and their immediate family, but it can also affect their parents as well. And as part of that, some of that it's going to happen. Some of it is quite right to happen, and I'll come on to that in a second. But I think clubs have a responsibility and need to start thinking about not just the player and their partners, but also their extended family, and having resources available to them so that they're ready to deal with this kind of stuff. We don't want to see parents getting upset whenever their children get criticised, and as part of being part of the rugby media, be it professional or amateur, like myself, we are going to criticise people at times, and we are going to say people haven't lived up to what they can do necessarily. And I think that kind of criticism we need to have. We can't say people are doing well and are good all the time. That's just not true. And as long as we keep it professional and about how they've played and about how they're coaching or whatever, and we're not attacking them on a personal level or calling them names, I think that's the right thing for us to do, and it should be, and they should expect that as part of what being a professional sportsman is. And I don't think we have that responsibility. That's why you guys listen to us. If we just said everything was good all the time, you wouldn't believe us and you'd go away. So we are going to say that, but the clubs, I think, need to prepare their people for it. I do remember hearing an interview of someone who was a sports commentator, and he said that he talked about someone getting sacked, and that manager called him up and said, "Hey, did you realise I was taking my kids to school?" And they heard that on the radio. I'm sorry, but that is going to happen. Yesterday I mentioned that Jim Mallender perhaps should leave Saints. That's effectively saying he should be sacked. He should lose his job. And that's not a good thing for kids to hear, and it's not necessarily a nice thing for the parents to hear either. But it is going to happen, and as long as we talk about it as, I think he's been there too long and he's not done it, and it's time for change, rather than saying he's a XYZ person or he's a nasty person or he's whatever, which is not what I said, then I think it's fine. And that kind of, as long as we talk about it from a professional point of view. So I guess what I'm trying to say here overall is that clubs need to support their players, their staff, and also think about the extended family of the club, not just the players, but their partners, their kids, and also the parents of the players, because they're all going to get hurt by this negative criticism, and they need to know how to deal with it and be ready to deal with it. It will happen. And I think also from the fans' point of view and from the sort of media-ish, if I'm being a bit big-headed calling myself media, is we've just got to remember that these are real people. They do have people who care about them, and we've got to keep it professional. Booing your own side, that's not acceptable. Calling people names is not acceptable. We need to say why someone shouldn't have a good reason as to why we think it's time for that person to move on, or why we do think that person isn't doing a good job. So this was take two. I think I didn't say it very well the first time, so hopefully this one was better. Thank you very much for listening. If you like this, do share it if you're on Twitter, or give it a thumbs up if you're on YouTube. Also, do sign up to become a patron of Driving More, so I can get a bit better at this and do a few more videos for you. The link is above in Twitter. It's down below in the notes on YouTube. So thank you very much for watching, and please come back tomorrow, because I will be talking, I think, about, let's know what comes up, about Rugby World Cup qualification and how it's changed from 2015 to 2019, and how I think they perhaps have done something wrong, or World Rugby has done something wrong. So thank you very much for your time, and catch you all tomorrow.